Hey guys, this is the story of Don Fury Studio. Hope you like it. I met Freddy Madball when he was 12 years old. Freddy had been singing with his brother Roger's band Agnostic Front on stage for a while, and the band Agnostic Front decided that they wanted to come down and back Freddy up on a recording session at Don Fury Studio. So the band called me up and set up a session for Freddy. And I remember it was a beautiful summer afternoon, sunny, a little breezy, just really nice day. And the band decided that they were going to do a 2-track session with Freddy, which is live. That's a live session. And that probably was for a couple of reasons. Maybe they didn't have a budget and they wanted to keep the session real short, which is a good reason. And the other is that Fred was probably used to singing live on stage with the band and hadn't done a recording situation where he had to overdub or do a multi-track situation. So probably a good idea, but a live 2-track session puts a lot of pressure on the band and the singer to get it right on the first try, because there's no overdubbing and there's no fixing and there's no mixing after the take. So we set up and sound checked, and then the band started doing a little rehearsal to get Freddy used to the recording situation, and the guys started riding Freddy just a little bit. Especially, I guess, maybe his big brother, Roger. And Freddy took it, for a while, for maybe 10 or 15 minutes or maybe even 20 minutes. Freddy was holding out. But finally, Freddy had enough, and he just bolted out of the studio. I mean, he took off, right? I mean, we're only 20 feet from the sidewalk, where Freddy was singing. And before you knew it, he was out the door, and everybody was looking around at each other in the studio like, where'd Freddy go, and is he coming back? And it took a while for us to go look, and when we finally walked up onto the sidewalk and took a look, Freddy was 2 blocks away down Spring Street, just booking, And we were like, oh man, he's taking off. Roger had to go hustle after him and spend some time talking to him. And I guess talk through what was going to happen in the session, and maybe just say, listen, all right, I'm not going to keep riding you. We're just going to go back and get some really good takes. So that's exactly what happened. Freddy came back, the band got busy, and they blasted through a whole bunch of really great takes. And Freddy had his first record. Freddy, I think, still has the record as the youngest guy I've ever recorded as a lead vocalist. Freddy was 12. I worked with Luke Abbey when he was 13, Sammy Siegler when he was 14, and Harley Flanagan was rehearsing in my studio on 17th Street when he was 12. But I'm pretty sure Freddy has got the record for the youngest vocalist I've ever worked with. 3 years later, Madball would come back again and do their second EP for Rec Age Records, and that was a multi-track recording session, so a very different experience for the band and for Freddy. And that was a fun session. Stigma was a riot. Gorilla Biscuits. Wow, what a fun and fantastic band to work with. GB had been one of the first bands to come in after I put my 8-track setup in, literally like a month later, and we recorded for the Revelation Records comp together the song Better Than You. It was a little rough on my part and maybe the band's part, but by 1988 they wanted to come in and record the Gorilla Biscuits EP, and everybody was ready. The band was still in high school, and in Luke's case, the drummer, probably junior high school, and they came in, I guess maybe in 1 weekend or 2 weekends, and we just blasted this record out, and it came out great. We sent it off to be pressed. The only weird thing that happened about the GB EP was that the pressing plant lost the tape after the first pressing. So we all had to get back together and remix the Gorilla Biscuits EP. I didn't even know that, or remember that, I should say, until I talked to Walter about it just recently. I want to talk about why I like this record so much, and maybe why other kids like this record so much too. First of all, it has a very young voice. And by that, I don't mean Siv's voice, although Siv's voice was young and it was cracking everywhere, and I love that about the record. I wish he had been able to keep that going for Start Today, but he got too old. I mean, it was written from a young person's perspective, and it was both introspective and positive and affirmative. And I think that's why a lot of people like the content of the record, or the message of the record, I guess is the best way to put it. It had some anthems on it, like Hold Your Ground, and they showed a sense of humor on GM2, which is basically just a rock and roll ditty that has a funny echo ending. And all the songs were about the things that you have to go through in life, and how to posture yourself and how to carry yourself as you make those decisions. And I think that's a great message for kids in general. Then you have to talk about the arranging of the songs themselves. The Gorilla Biscuits songs are constantly moving. There's never a dull moment. They're like bubbling, they're popping. It's like the champagne of hardcore. And guitar parts are a lot of that. You know, Walter's got a part going on one side which is moving but straight ahead, and then a lot of times on a second guitar he'll be working on octaves, okay, doing a melodic counterpoint to the basic rhythm. To me, those parts that he writes sound a lot like horn sections. I mean, it's a very poppy way of arranging, and I love it. Along with the octaves that are incorporated on many of these tracks, we've also got pick slides, which is a typical hardcore add-on. But you've also got harmonics on rhythm sections, and that's not so typical. And really a lot of musicality coming out of the arrangements and the guitars. And the bass playing, Arthur's bass playing, is phenomenal. I'm not really sure people understand that. First of all, he's playing fingerstyle, which is unusual enough for hardcore. But he's also doing, you can't call them walking bass parts. They're not just rock and roll walking bass parts. They are melodic bass parts. There are places where Arthur is moving the song, and they're so tasteful. I mean, it's every place he's got room to move it, he moves it, and then he comes back out and is down with the rhythm guitar. So Arthur's bass parts are absolutely crucial to the Gorilla Biscuits sound. And then you've got the overall performance by everybody in the band. I mean, Luke was killing it on drums. Siv was killing it on vocals. I mean, you just feels like he's ripping your heart out with the vocals. It's just so right up in your face. And the whole package was just pin tight. I mean, these guys were ready to make this record. For a year after, maybe more, after the Gorilla Biscuits EP came out, every hardcore band that came into the studio said, "We want to sound like the Gorilla Biscuits EP." I mean, that told me something right there, that we had really done something special. Bands and labels in general, when they're trying to make a bigger record, have a tendency to go towards a bigger studio, or a bigger whatever, bigger producer, bigger name, bigger studio, if they can afford it. And when Gorilla Biscuits was getting ready to do Start Today, Revelation decided that they could cover doing a 24-track recording for the Biscuits. So that's what happened. Gorilla Biscuits started recording 24-track in a studio not too far away from my studio. And they were there for about, 4 or 5 days or a week or so. And I got a call. I got a call from Walter. I said, "What's up, Walter? How you doing, man? What's going on?" He's like, "Fury, what are you doing, starting next week?" And I'm like, "Why?" He goes, "We want to come back to the studio." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You're recording in a 24-track studio. Why would you come back to my 8-track studio? That doesn't make sense. Are you sure?" And he said, "Fury, we're sure. We're coming back. get ready. And I was like, okay, man, I will. I'll see you soon. So there we were back at Don Fury's studio recording Start Today. I don't think there was any drama about getting the music down, but I'm not sure that the band had been playing these songs out as much as maybe they had been playing the EP out before they recorded the EP. So a lot of these songs I think were brand new and hadn't been played on stage or rehearsed all that much. About halfway through the project, once the music had been gone down, Walter had to go off on tour with Youth of Today in Europe. And so we figured, well, Walter's on tour, but while he's doing that, maybe we'll have Siv come in and work on getting the vocals down. And so we did that, although Siv was getting over the flu or the cold or something like that at the time. And that was a bit of a wash. So when Walter came back from tour, we ended up re-recording all of Siv's vocals on Start Today. And if I had to ever come up with a nickname for Siv, it would have to be Saint Anthony. For all the trials and tribulations he went through recording vocals on Start Today, and then actually later on with Walter and me on the Siv record also. So just like the EP, Start Today's got great songs, great writing, great arranging, great playing, great messaging. It's a fantastic record. And they also get to show their musical sense of humor a little bit with the brass fanfare at the start of the record and a whistling solo and a harmonica solo. These are just not normal things for a hardcore record. I also have to give a shout out to the Effectron 2 digital delay. We use that in very creative ways on the Start Today record, not just on the song Start Today, although that was amazing. I don't know how we did that. This was not automation, but we did it somehow. If I could look over our shoulders and watch what we did, it would be fun to see. Start Today was a phenomenal record, and it would go on to be Revelation's top seller. I think it still is today. And it was the moment in time when I realized that people were thinking of me as a producer, not just an engineer twisting buttons. And that was enlightening. It was a good realization. This is the photo on the back of the Madball Ball of Destruction 7-inch, which was Freddy's first EP from DFS. He's on stage with Agnostic Front. That's Craig Satari on bass and Vinny Stigma, obviously, on guitar. And Freddy's really, fronting the band, you can tell. And here's a couple photos of Gorilla Biscuits. I think these are both from Revelation Records. I like this one because it shows the band's crazy, humorous side. That's Alex and Luke in the front, and Arthur, Walter, and Siv in the back. And this one's from the same photo shoot. You can really see how young these guys are in this photo. And all these guys really need at this point is some coordinated dance moves.